Hello and welcome everybody to today's program. We have a great turnout here at 350 Madison Avenue. And the program is on Korea, U.S., China trilateral relations, looking back and looking forward. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Tom Byrne. I'm the president and CEO of the Korea Society. The newly launched book, with a 2015 publication date, Korea, U.S., China trilateral relations in the Xi Jinping Era, moves beyond conventional discussions of bilateral ties and trilateral ties, for that matter, to provide an in-depth analysis of the complexity, conflict, and economic interdependence characterizing the relationships among these three nations. In my own testimonial, I note that this book offers a frontline vantage point from a country that has dealt with China, and also observers who have dealt with China for a long time, for a very long time, and it provides a fresh but realistic perspective. Today, we are pleased to welcome two authors. Allow me to briefly introduce our esteemed guests. Minister CHUNG Duck Koo, former Minister of Commerce, Industry, and Energy, and also a former Vice Minister in the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Korea. He served as a Minister of Commerce during President Kim Dae-jung's administration, 1999 and 2000. He is the founder and chairman of the Northeast Asia Research Foundation, NEAR, that's the acronym. He is a distinguished visiting fellow also at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS in DC. Minister Chung also taught Chinese students in Peking University, at Renmin University in Beijing, and also was an advisor to the China Academy of Social Science, also known as CAS. Minister YUN Byung-se served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea from March 2013 until June 2017. He is the longest serving foreign minister since 1981. He currently is chairman of the Seoul International Law Academy, a co-chair of REAIM Global Commission that focuses on AI, and the chairman of the NEAR Global Survey Project. Minister Yun, I have to say, I first met him when we were classmates at Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies down in DC. Always good to see you. So ministers, congratulations on the publication. We're excited to learn more. Before we jump in, I want to thank the Korea Foundation and all our corporate sponsors, the names of which are prominently displayed on the screen in the lobby, for making this program possible. Thanks for our in-house and virtual audience. We will provide an opportunity for in-person attendees to ask questions directly. And for our virtual audience, please send your questions throughout the program to policy@koreasociety.org. And now let's turn to Minister Chung. The floor is yours, and I understand you'll give a panoramic view of your book.
Okay. Before I begin, I'd like to render sincere gratitude to President Tom Byrne for organizing today's book seminar, and my sincere gratitude to the staff of Korea Society. Today, alongside Minister Yun, I am pleased to discuss the newly published book, Korea, U.S., China Trilateral Relations in the Xi Jinping Era, in which we contributed as author and editors. This work approaches the interrelations of U.S., China, Korea from triangular perspective, analyzing various issues that may arise from the complex three-party dynamics. Our aim was to demonstrate the nature of relations among the three countries cannot simply be derived from traditional bilateral perspectives. The trilateral relationship is inherently more intricate, characterized by the numerous factors of collision and a significant degree of economic interdependence. Focusing solely on bilateral relations can lead to oversimplification and determining the complexity and the economic ties at play. This book specifically seeks to present a multi-dimensional understanding of the internal and external challenges faced by U.S., China, and Korea, striving for realistic solution. Bilateral perspectives on U.S.-China relations can create blind spots when assessing U.S.-Korea relations. Utilizing the trilateral matrix analysis can help mitigate the pitfalls of a strategic imbalance that often result from binary analysis. As U.S. power diminishes, there has been an inclination to navigate the stalemate in U.S.-China relations through the lens of U.S.-Korea alliance and the trilateral cooperation. However, it is crucial to recognize that convergence and divergence perpetually coexist between U.S.-China and the Korea-China relations. In this sense, our book employs matrix analysis. It's not common in the political science to outline strategies that maximize the inevitable convergence in trilateral relations for mutual benefit, while simultaneously minimizing the factors causing divergence. Now let me move on more detail in my PowerPoint. As you may realize from the picture, I draw the map of trilateral relationships. In publishing company was so surprised how the author can draw the relationship among three countries so nicely. It's overlap, but more with United States, less in relationship with China. Okay. About this book, that is, as I mentioned, the strategic triangle perspectives. During the last 4 or 5 decades, United States sometimes made a critical mistake in handling the China issue because it's not easy to penetrate the Chinese culture, Chinese behavior of bureaucratic societies, even in the CCP. But there are some overlapping effect. Sometimes that's why we have a long deliberation. Is what is the reality of the convergence and the divergence among three countries? Why triangular matrix? Mainly because bilateral relations sometimes lose sight of the reality among three countries. That's why when the THAAD deployment case, we allowed to establish the THAAD in Korea, but Korea had a very serious damage from the China. At the time, U.S. government has long kept silent. This is the reality of three-dimension politics. Most importantly, conventional discussion of bilateral ties often fail to capture the complex web of overlapping interest, conflict, and interdependence, intersecting demands in the area of both competition and cooperation among three countries. And also, we must be analyzed through the trilateral matrix analysis. Matrix analysis, what is the matrix analysis? Is we have intersecting convergence and divergence. We have, but usually U.S. The Secretary of Defense, they usually say it should be done by U.S. power, military power itself, but that is not always successful. That's why we must be analyzed through the trilateral matrix with their convergence and the divergence. And also, we have a very serious potential conflict and complexity. But usually, the Russian analytical tools do not put in the cost matters. They do not count on the cost. This is socialistic analytical tools. As the same token, the United States sometimes fail to make a very good insight into the major problem with enemy countries. But in that case, they fail to count on the enormous cost area. That's why sometimes the U.S. Army inevitably retreat from Afghanistan or something like that. This is the main reason of trilateral matrix analysis. And what is the core point of this book? That is how can we maximizing mutual benefit while minimizing points of conflict and differing interest to mitigate a pitfall of strategic imbalance. The second one is internal dynamics and the mechanism of CCP, focusing on how Xi Jinping's personality trait influence the decision-making process. Third, the future of a Xi Jinping regime. Will it be smooth sailing? How long will Xi Jinping stay in power? U.S.-China competition. The importance of transitional U.S.-China competition to a more structured and managed form, to transit from unmanaged rivalry to managed rivalry. Quarters alliance. We need a new formula, not confined to the military treaty with the ironclad ally. We need a new formula, that is the sailing in the same boat with a shared dream and trust building, and balanced national interest with the complementarity in science, technology, and industry. Final point is transaction with Kim Jong-un by Trump administration. What is the Trump administration's stance on North Korean denuclearization? This is a focal point. Okay. I will touch upon the Chinese situation in the politics, their economic situations, and the future prospect of the Xi Jinping regime. At first, they have a very serious antithetical governance experiment. The center of confusion is problem of governance structure change. They have they made a critical experiment for what is the optimal governance structure of China. Deng Xiaoping led China to the China rise by integrating capitalistic market principle into a socialist political system. It looks like two sheets of leather and simply knitted. Okay, domestic socialist politics, and the other side is the capitalist economy. There's enormous firewall. Okay, in the Xi Jinping era, Xi Jinping sought to re-establish the absolute authority of CCP, not the welfare of the people, as a means to challenge the US-led liberal international order. A capitalist market economy with socialism with Chinese characteristics. And he said, we have to revenge the humiliation of century-long humiliation by Western side, okay, including United States. But problem was erupted during the COVID-19. From that time, the Xi Jinping regime in economic policy was so dangerous game, especially on the property, the price of property management with the government state-owned banks support. However, Xi Jinping's greatest setback was his failure to destroy Deng Xiaoping's firewall between politics and the economy. At the early days, Deng Xiaoping announced that in China we have a socialist politics, but socialist politics by CCP will not touch upon the market economy. Huge amount of the investment from Western society is flowed to China. But nowadays, everybody is very afraid of the new investment to China. The question is, at the heart of the crisis, what extent China will persist in integrating socialism with Chinese characteristics into its economy. Okay, what is the critical points in the Chinese political system? Chinese people's demand and aspirational nationalism of Xi Jinping is apart very rapidly. Chinese people have a new demand on their life. We call it three life. 삼생, three life. That is livelihood, daily necessity, food. This is in the Korean language is 생계. Second one is improved quality of life, the modern healthcare system. That is 생활. The third one is sustainable survival systems reliable pension for the aging population. All three was written in the blank paper riot on the Chinese students' head at the time. They say, we, the people, want food, not PCR tests. Liberty, not lockdowns and control. Dignity, not lies. Reform, not cultural revolution. And elections, not dictators. It's a basic right of the people to seek medical assistance when needed, to have food when hungry, and expect acceptable sanitation and living conditions. It's people's saying right now. The lives of citizens are more important than worship. And modern healthcare is the most fundamental of all social infrastructure. That is the new demand of the people. Now, Xi Jinping is a sole decision maker in China. All of the complaint is flowed to Xi Jinping right now. He's not enough room for understanding and taking care of the Trumpism to China. Instead, he is very much concerned about domestic politics and the people's need structure. The future of Xi Jinping's regime, will it be smooth sailing? The crucially, trajectory of Chinese economy will determine whether Xi Jinping's rule will be over in 2027. Next following 3 or 4 years of Chinese economy will determine the Xi Jinping's future. And also, if no successor is identified, it's very important. In 21st Party Congress in 2027, who will be emerged as a new leader? And nobody knows. It depends on the economic situation. Chinese economy is involved in the vicious cycle of the low income and low growth and deflation. This looks like a Japanese style stagnation. If Xi Jinping can resolve that problem earlier than 2027, in that case, his destiny will be extended to 2032 and 2037. But economy is the most important part for Xi Jinping's future. Okay, what is the Chinese economy? There are 3 questions. One is whether China is falling into the middle income trap. It depends on the Xi Jinping's perception on economy. It's a conditionally yes. Conditionally yes. Whether China has missed the opportunity to overtake the US economy? Yes. Because of the critical mistake by the Xi Jinping's after COVID-19. Whether the Chinese economy has peaked and is now heading toward recession? It may or may not, as Xi's perception and policy may change. There must be a 3 P's for returning back to virtuous cycle of Chinese economy. First one is a policy. Their policy direction is too much concentrated on the cutting-edge science and technology development, not in the macroeconomic perspectives, including the property economy. And the second one is the policy direction. The second is property. The property is usually during the last 40 or 45 years, Chinese economy was so strongly supported by the boom-bust cycle of the property. But when boom season is coming, that's okay. When bust season is coming, that should be supported by the state-owned banks. That's why main source of the rapid economic growth during the last 40 years. But now, all of a sudden, it's frozen right now. But Xi Jinping denied. No more state-owned bank support. Okay? And the most important part is the perception on economy by Xi Jinping. His socialism and free market economy has a very important the point to be decided by the Xi Jinping in the future. Still, Xi Jinping, he is a little bit flexible in the face of the economic recession, but still no property market-driven economy. Okay? Xi Jinping's world view. What is the world view? There's a community with shared future of mankind. And the new ideological partnership is BRICS and Africa. And he almost gave up the competing with the United States. He only in the world. His concern now is dominance in East Asia, including North East Asia.
Excuse me, Minister Chung.
Time. Okay. I will create.
So, Minister has given us definitely a panoramic view and also an encyclopedic view. In the interest of time, can you
I need
maybe
3
summarize?
minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. The China's attraction to Korea. That is, China expects Korea to position itself at the midpoint between United States and China, but not in vain, because we have three different situations with China. We have very long, very far distance in the world view and the perception on economy. That's why Korea will be do not have any inclination to China at all. We will be standing far from Chinese stance in the economic policy and world view. We have 6 principles, Korea's long-term strategy toward China. We no longer tolerate China's treating present-day Korea as a subordinate state by Xi Jinping. We deny. And sovereignty. Korea will firmly safeguard its sovereignty by alone. I made the red line between Korea and China. It's Korea's red lines that China should not cross. Okay, this is a very important point. We need a certain type of red line between Korea and China. Most importantly, is a settlement of maritime territory by 124 degree east Western Sea, Yellow Sea. We have a big trouble in the future with China in the Yellow Sea. They deemed Yellow Sea is his inner territory. But now the U.S. vessel do not enter the Yellow Sea. It's an informal agreement. But when situation is changed toward the dispute in the Taiwan Strait, in that case, the Yellow Sea is a very important lines for China. That's why they are very nervous about the Yellow Sea. We need, we have assumed the red line between Korea and China.
Minister Chung, out of the
Okay.
red line seems like a good place to.
My last point is how about the Korea-U.S. relations? That is, I call it as U.S. economy is diminished. It has become now the largest minority shareholder of the world. United States power need to be supported by their strong allied power for making the dominance power. But sometimes U.S. leader is denied this very important reality in the world. Okay, and now skip the other part of my point will be dealt by in the course of the dialogue discussion. I will quit my explanation. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I certainly will follow up with a couple of questions. The audience will. Minister Yun, I hate to shortchange you, but we're well into the program. Maybe you could give an executive summary of your opening comments.
Very briefly. Thank you, Tom, for giving us this excellent opportunity. As you see here on this cover, this is very well drawn. But I think you may have some question because these three circles are actually located within what? In the Indo-Pacific. And Indo-Pacific is part of the world. So my role, actually my contribution to this book is about how these three circles could affect regional and global order or disorder, or vice versa. Unless we have some broader context in understanding, regional or global context, you cannot fully understand what these bilateral relations, what these trilateral relations or dynamics or interplay mean for our national interest or regional interest. So this is my focus. So as Mr. Chairman Chung said, each of us has many convergent and divergent interests vis-a-vis the other, and bilateral and trilaterally. So in my overview in this book, actually I elaborate on, can you show them the first page, the table content, yes. This is roughly the key points in my overview, but I will elaborate on this section by section. But instead, I will summarize and distill what are the key elements in my diagnosis or prognosis on the importance of the regional context and global context in understanding this trilateral matrix and dynamics. Because for Korea, United States is our ally, 70-year-long ally, and it will go on maybe for another 70 years or beyond that. But China is our strategic partner. We call it strategic cooperative partner. It's a very, one of the top 3 tiers. So my key point is this. Number 1, we have to start with what kind of world we are living in. So I tend to call it polycrisis or fire everywhere. You see in Ukraine, the Middle East, North Africa, now probably or possibly in the Indo-Pacific. Already here in the Indo-Pacific, we are very familiar with the possible clashes or conflicts, either in Northeast Asia or East China Sea or South China Sea. So there are already medium and small fires, but there may be much bigger fires that could be in order in our part of the world. It could be Taiwan, it could be the Korean Peninsula, whatever. So I think this is in addition to the ongoing tariff wars or technology wars between these 2 big powers. But this is only the beginning now under this Trump 2.0. So number 2, these polycrises are now actually taking place in the context of the diffusion of power between US and China or among big powers. That means now no single country, neither China nor United States, can extinguish these multiple fires across the world. So William Burns, the immediate past CIA director, so last year eloquently said that, the United States no longer enjoys primacy, uncontested primacy. I think that is very frank admission. So now we have a new configuration of forces in the world. So new blocs, new alliances, new coalitions, and people here in the United States prefer to call them axis of something, axis of people, axis of evils, axis of resistance or revisionist, whatever. So on the other hand, on our side, we have new coalitions, right? Starting with the Quad, AUKUS, Korea, US, Japan, secret cooperation. Even, have we heard about WIW, I2U2? Very strange. Israel, India, United States, UAE, something like that. There is a proliferation of so many coalitions or like-minded groups in the world, depending on what kind of priorities they have. And then fourth, I think the biggest fragmentation, broadly speaking, is among the global West, global East, and the global South. Before, the global South is marginalized third world or non-aligned world. But now, it's not the case. They have many much more prosperous, much more influential members in the global South, such as India, Indonesia, Turkey, right? Many others. So some foreign media called it T25, right? Enough resources, enough diplomatic capability, so something like that. So now this is a very complex world. Here in the United States, we have more US-centric worldview. In Beijing, they have more China-centric worldview. Yes, they are very important. But actually, if you want to analyze what's going on in the world very objectively, you need to look at all these developments in a more holistic way. I think this is a very important point. And the Global South actually is now kind of becoming a geopolitical swing state, as you saw in this presidential election in the United States, right? There are swing states. But in this Global South, there are more than 6 or 7, maybe a dozen swing states that could tip the balance between the global West and the East. This is very important, right? And for example, India is now a member of Quad, but India is also a member of the BRICS, right? Original member of BRICS, right? And then the global, and then also I'll go to the next one. The fifth, under these circumstances, China, actually the Chairman Chung, he could have a time to explain about this, but China is very smart in exploiting these changing dynamics in the Global South. They are reaching out to the many countries in the Global South, starting with the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, right? And then the investment bank. So now, this Panama Canal incident, I mean, which is now being repeated by President Trump, is also part of this rivalry between the United States and China about how much they can influence the region, actually, which used to be the Western Hemisphere and the backyard of the United States. But now, according to our latest IMF report, China's trade with Latin America has increased by 40 times compared with that of the 2020. That's an enormous increase, right? And then this was made possible due to Chinese very coherent regional and global strategy. I think this is very important. Partly they sound like some slogan politics, but they are being implemented as part and parcel of their regional policy and global policy. So actually in the Chairman Chung's PPT, there's written points about what they call community of shared future of mankind. I think this epitomizes how China wants to buy the hearts of the international community, especially developing countries, especially the Global South. BRI used to be targeting Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Now they are reaching out to the Latin America. They are much more influential than the United States. Now, they took over the United States influence already many years ago. So this is Chinese new Lebenbaum, living space in the world. Then China's leader, Xi Jinping, likened this. 10 years ago, he talked about the Asia Pacific. Pacific waters are the deep and vast enough to accommodate two big powers, US and China. Last year, he talked about the Earth is big enough to accommodate United States and China. So before he talked about the Indo-Pacific region, regional hegemony, but now he's talking about the global hegemony. His ambition is now getting much bigger and more meaningful, right? This is already endorsed by the CCP in 2017, and this is being implemented by Chinese Foreign Ministry through 3 Gs, Global Development Initiative, global security initiative, global human community initiative, right? But on the other hand, this is the next point. The United States and the European countries are actually slow in buying the hearts of the global South. This was the key point made by Munich Security Conference report last year. They didn't catch the frustrations and resentment of the global South for the last 10 years and 20 years. This was the point touched upon, emphasized by the Chinese authorities for the last 10 to 15 years. So they took advantage of the end of Pax Americana and the emerging multipolarity for the last 10 years. So now, Biden administration tried to recover from that, damage by introducing multilateralism, focus on Indo-Pacific, creating many unilateral, networks. He was rather successful. So now again, we are having Trump 2.0 administration. In the Pacific, at least they have some commonalities in placing emphasis on this region, even though there are some differences. But on the global stage, actually now Trump 2.0 is now turning inward, more shrinking. And then still China will continue. Take the reach out to the many global South countries through BRI, through APEC, through G20. How many countries participated in BRI, 10th anniversary of BRI? More than 120 countries. Now BRICS has new member. Originally 5 countries. Last year, 6 new members were included, including right, UAE and Saudi Arabia. 2 of them are very close partners of the United States, right?
Minister Yun, can I jump in a second about, I want to focus a little more on U.S.-China competition,
yes.
but
so finally,
bring the others in.
Yes, finally, this is related to this threat context. So for the United States, or for China, to win over the other side, and they need the support of their allies, their partners in the region, as well as in the global South. Otherwise, America first can be America alone. China first can be China alone. So this is the point where the Korea as middle powers and Japan, Australia, and the Philippines and many some ASEAN countries, together with European countries, tend to emphasize to new U.S. administration. This is the global. This is a time when the United States should continue their leadership through allied power, as Chairman Chung mentioned, not turning inside. So finally, as Mr. Trump used to say, make America great again. But recently, just 3 weeks ago, when he announced the nomination of Marco Rubio as a Secretary of State, he said a slightly different language. Marco is a friend to our allies. With him, we can make America and the world safe and great again. I think this new addition, the world, I think it is a very important point. We hope that will be the case, not just America, but together with the world, together with the allies, including US and Japan. Next week, Japanese Prime Minister is coming to Washington, D.C., so there will be a good discussion about this. But I think in terms of the trilateral context, US, China, and South Korea, all these regional dynamics and global dynamics should be factored into this very important, dissection or analysis and prognosis. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. This is like really a lot to consider and to chew on. But I wanted to focus on the U.S.-China competition, then we'll bring in questions from the audience. Actually, two questions or two areas. So in regard to the U.S.-China competition, you write in the book in your introduction that the competition has become like a black hole, exerting a powerful influence on interstate relations. I think you were referring to not just in the region, but also globally. You also mentioned that that competition is the historical norm. It's not something that we're seeing for the first time. So my question is this competition between China and the U.S., is it a natural evolution of Chinese leadership post Mao Zedong, from Deng Xiaoping to Jiang Zemin to Hu Jintao, and now to Xi Jinping? Or is there some sort of discontinuous evolution where Xi has changed everything in the world? Where do you stand on that? Is Xi different? Is Xi moving China in a different direction that it otherwise would have taken if Xi did not become the leader of China?
To me or to Chairman?
Well, I'll ask you first.
Okay, all right. I think this is a very important question. Actually, that the first point was made by my colleague in Singapore, Bilahari, former the Vice Foreign Minister of Singapore. But about this, the competition or conflict or cooperation issues, actually, there is a divided line between President Xi Jinping and his predecessors. Actually, before the Xi Jinping, President Xi, at least the collective leadership has worked, and they were part of the same world order and regional order. They did not try to replace the United States with a new order. But somehow for the last 14 years, since 2012, the United States felt that President Xi's ambition is not just regional hegemony, but it's going beyond that. And then across all domains and across all regions, it's being felt by not just by the United States, by many other countries. So this is why U.S. administration, especially U.S. Congress, through creating so many bodies in the Congress, including special committee, right? If you look at this USICA, U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, original version, they cited 20 reasons why China is the biggest threat to the United States. They contained everything. To that extent, they became very serious about the challenge coming from China. And this has been happening since the advent of President Xi in 2020. And that is, unless this is very well managed through some kind of modus vivendi or modus operandi, I think this stage of the competition or managed competition could turn into conflict or confrontation, maybe possibly including some military confrontation in the East China Sea areas or South China Sea areas, something like that.
Okay, good. So when I look at, I'm not a historian, but when I look at things, I see there were cracks in the U.S.-led rules-based system that predated Xi Jinping, like way, way before. If you look at the Doha round, which ended incompletely, started in 2001. I think one big reason it wasn't successful was that the BRICS didn't sign on board to the tariff reductions. You had China, India, and Brazil all resisting the tariff reductions back then, and then things moved forward. Turning this competition to South Korea and the role of middle powers, you talk about this in your introduction. But Minister Chung, you note, I think you noted in your remarks that China and Korea have shared a border for thousands of years, but yet you're not, as you say, like-minded neighbors. You also say in your introduction that ultimately the U.S. will not be the guardian of your sovereignty, and that it can't be the lender of last resort. Well, I don't know if it has that role. The IMF has played that role, as we know, during the IMF crisis. So how does Korea fit into this competition between the U.S. and China? I think you already touched upon that, but will things be stable during Xi Jinping's leadership in China, or do you see tensions building up?
Actually, U.S.-China strategic competition driven by ideological, economic, and geopolitics has evolved over 4 phases. First one is enmity and engagement, cooperation, and the current strategic competition. During the last 45 years, in any stage of U.S.-China relationships, Korea was always a victim because Korea do not have enough capacity to persuade China and the United States altogether. That's why the United States always think Korea may be closer to China eventually. And also Korea always say, okay, eventually United States will retreat from Korean Peninsula because they have the frequent power change every 4 or 8 years. There are very serious problem of the trust building. We are losing trust each other. But ironclad, the military and the defense treaty, that is always the topic of a new administration of the United States. Like Trump administration, second term, he repeatedly say the U.S. Army in United States, in Korea, that should be the new topic for the discussion. And also, Korea always say, please do not forget the importance of Pyeongtaek base and Osan and Kunsan Air Base. It's very, very near to nearby the Chinese doorstep. Okay? But that's why periodically we are testing each other. Most important part for U.S.-Korea relationship is recovering that the trust asset in the future is very important. And also, the Korea is the only country to make a good benefit to United States because when I stay in Washington, D.C., 2023, at the time, the Jeff Sullivan, secretary advisor to the Biden administration, announced that the new Washington consensus, that rebuilding manufacturing base in United States. At the time in CSIS seminar, I mentioned that no way. In United States, manufacturing, no way. Only way to revive the manufacturing area is a collaboration with Korea. Korea is the only country for manufacturing ecosystem now. Germany, Korea, and Japan, and China is manufacturing powerhouse during the last 40 years. But nowadays, the Germany, they are losing competitiveness, right? Very enormous, excessive energy prices or something like that. And Japan, they are concentrating on the specific parts and components with a very high price, but they don't have any mass production capability. So that's why we have only 2 countries with the manufacturing ecosystem and with the mass production in China and Korea. But United States cannot have a collaboration with China at the moment. That's why Korea is the only country to have the complementarity in science, technology, and industry.
Yeah.
That's why our next step for Quarters Alliance in the face of U.S.-China strong competition, that is reviving, recreating, recovering our trust asset between Korea and the United States. And the second one is the complementarity. As the Korean science and technology level has been advancing right now, approaching to U.S. level, that's why, as you can remember, during the COVID-19, the Pfizer invented the new vaccine, but initial stage, the prices were 1 million Korean won. Very expensive one, because they don't have any mass production capability at the time. Eventually, they moved to Korea, made a mass production. The price of supply has been diminishing rapidly. This is the reality of the economic cooperation right now. It's very sad. The United States has only one economic partners in the manufacturing sector, so Korea. Even in Western Hemisphere, there are many number of the fence sitters. They are not totally maintain the good relationship with the United States. They sometimes Russia, sometimes China. It's fence sitter. But I think you have a genuine friends in the world. That is the United Kingdom, Australia, Korea, and Japan. That's 4. That's why this is a new generation of the Quarters Alliance in the next following decades.
Right.
Thank you.
And we see this with the alliance now defined as a comprehensive alliance, not just a strategic alliance. Well, I think there is a lot of potential for the complementarity with Korea's its prowess in manufacturing, and then the U.S. with innovation. But I don't know if the U.S. can afford a Chips and Science Act in every industry. I mean, estimates are it's already probably $80 billion that will be spent by the federal government. Federal government that certainly has fiscal strains. Okay, with that, a little editorializing, let me turn it to the audience. So thank you for staying into overtime. And so I'd ask for you to identify yourself, and again, in the interest of time, to keep your questions to the point. So I see Steve. Yeah, let's get Steve. So a little more than just an introduction to Steve.
Steve Cartman. My question goes to both of our excellent speakers. The first part of the question is, Minister Chun talked about the economic stagnation or slowdown in China with the deflation and so forth. In Japan, people talked about a lost decade. Is that possible in China? And for Minister Yun, assuming that China continues to face these serious economic and financial challenges, you mentioned China's global ambitions. Will it be possible for China to realize such ambitions if its economy is stagnating?
Do you want to start that, Minister Yun? Okay, Minister Chung.
Okay, Chinese economy is in the very critical time, because this is not purely market economy. Nowadays, all the decisions will be made by the government. All of a sudden, the Chinese government announced that the People's Bank of China will belong to Treasury Department, etc. That's fine, but I don't think the Chinese economic stagnation will be extended to the Japanese-style long-term stagnation, because the Chinese government, if Xi Jinping or government policymakers have a new idea and new perception on economy, market economy, in that case, Chinese economy can be recovered right away. But in case of Japan, they have free market systems, and Japanese yen is the new policy barometers, policy indicators in the Japanese economy. But most of the problem was that Japanese economic stagnation started from a boom-bust cycle of the real property that was extended to the foreign exchange and the interest rate stagnation, because it's totally linked to the American U.S. Dollar standard extended. That's why I think Chinese economy cannot be stay longer like Japanese long-term stagnation.
And Minister Yun?
Yes, actually, this is a very critical question. If you look at the history, including the Professor Paul Kennedy's, decline of empires, and something like that. If you overreach, then there will be a big problem of allocation of resources. So inevitably, somehow you are supposed to face a big dilemma domestically or internationally. That happened to the United States in the wake of the Vietnam War and Afghan War, engagement in the Middle East. So this is one reason why Mr. Trump, especially under Trump 2.0, wished to selectively participate, right, or prioritize U.S. intervention abroad, right? In the same way, China already suffered from their BRI project, right? Out of their more than 130 or 190 projects, already we heard about more than 23 countries reported about bankruptcies, right? That is the bankruptcies in those countries. But if this happening, this will be happening in other areas of economic interdependence in the international community, and so domestically, as Chairman Chung mentioned, I think that will certainly affect China's rise, military rise, and technology rise in other rise. And so here in the United States already, we talk a lot about the peak China, right? Peak China could be translated in then weaker Chinese ambition, I think. But nevertheless, at least their concepts, their ideological orientation for this community of shared future or community of humankind, I think that will remain, because that is big differentiation between China and US, maybe some other European countries. that is kind of the the inducement to sell to the global south. So I think in rhetoric, they'll continue to be there, but in terms of the pouring real resources, I think there'll be some kind of adjustment if their economic trouble will getting worse and worse.
Great. Do we have another question from our in-person audience? Okay. Chelsea, we have some questions submitted from our virtual audience. Is that right? All right. I'm somewhere. Okay. So one is from a former commander of the Sri Lankan army, Chaminda Roshan Kulatunga. So she asks about the gray zone tactics. So exploring the vulnerabilities of the U.S., China, and Korean relation in relation to gray zone tactics can offer valuable insights. How do you perceive this challenge when considering the future of trilateral relations? Maybe we should define gray zone tactics before we continue. Could you?
I think
tackle that?
this is a kind of this is related to kind of dilemma situations. You know, if we go directly into the hot war or flashpoints in the Korean Peninsula or in Taiwan Straits area or South China Sea or including Spratly Islands, that means another war, maybe including nuclear or maybe high-tech the weapons. So no country, at least at this stage, wants to engage in that kind of hot war. But they want to show to their adversaries that they are smart enough or they can outmaneuver their adversaries by using gray zone tactics. So the merit of using the gray zone tactics is that that is not threatening enough to trigger your adversary's overreaction. But still, the danger is that any clash through that gray zone tactics could escalate into much bigger problems. I think this is why we are asking Chinese authorities to stop militarization of many islands, no man's lands in the South China Seas, right? The same thing is now, the same is the case with the North Korea. They have ICBMs, they have nuclear warheads, right? They also have many advanced conventional weapons, but they are smart enough not go directly to use those high-tech weapons or nuclear warheads, right? So instead, they must be looking at this kind of gray zone tactics, right? But once they have done that, South Korean forces could react almost automatically, then that could escalate into much bigger conflicts. So gray zone tactics is always contains the possibility of this escalating to a much bigger zone. So we should be very careful about even gray zone, tactics, right?
Okay, great. Well, are there any more questions from our in-person audience? If not, I highly recommend this book. It's actually very, very well written, as your other book that you edited, Korea Beyond the Crisis. I'd recommend that book too, written about the IMF crisis. But yeah, I mean, we're not. The book not only talks about what's covered in this scheme, but particularly part 2 goes to discuss the impact of the Xi Jinping era on the world order. So thank you, Minister Yun, and thank you, Minister Chung, for coming here to the Korea Society this afternoon, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.